Make sure you are at party realignment in your notes. Should be the slide after, double check. Okay, it's the slide after two-party tradition in the United States. Party realignment, by definition, is a shifting of voting patterns and the creation of new political party coalitions. Now, the patterns that are shifting are how the American people vote, okay, and the coalition, okay. A coalition, by definition, is a group of people who support a party. Now, the reason why people are going to support a Republican or a Democratic Party is going to be all about the promises that the party and the candidate makes when they're campaigning. So if you are somebody who lives in the South and the candidate for the Republican Party says that he is going to do more to allow for Southern states to make their quality of education equal to the quality of education in the Northeast, then you're going to think that's a good idea and you're going to throw your support to the Republican Party. Or even older, in the South, if the candidate said that they were going to fight against the civil rights laws and fight against integration of schools, you might support that racist idea and throw your support to that party. Okay, so a coalition is all about the ability to get a group of people to support your political party and vote for you. Okay. First party realignment, or the first time the political parties were able to create a group of support. Okay, the first political parties were the Democratic Republicans and the Federalists. Now, the Democratic Republicans used to be the anti-feds, the people who didn't support the ratification of the Constitution, the people who didn't like the Constitution because they thought it would give too much power to a federal government. So the Democratic Republicans are the same as the anti-feds. Okay? And they ran in elections against the Federalists. Okay? The Federalists believed in a strong national government. Okay, so feds, federal government, Federalists, strong national or federal government. The Democratic Republicans, okay, I shortened it as usual, believed in a strong state government. And this is your first period of alignment. You had one coalition of support. Okay, one coalition of support were people who like strong national government, and then another coalition of support are the people who liked the strong state governments. Okay. Now, the second era of coalition, or the second era of political parties, are the Whigs and the Democrats. A lot of y'all have asked me about those two different groups, or who were the Whigs. You might have briefly heard about them. Well, the Whigs actually replaced the Feds, or the Federalists. They still liked a strong national government, but the thing that made them different was their anti-slavery stance. They didn't believe in slavery. So if you were a Whig, you still believed in strong national government, but you also believed that there shouldn't be any slavery. What had happened was that the Federalists lost their coalition of support, and people who were Federalists started to just become Whigs. So the Federalist Party died, and the Whig Party carried on. Okay. Then next you have the Democrats. The Democrats were the old Democratic Republicans, right? You remember we had the Democratic Republicans up here. They just dropped the Republican name. Okay, so they stopped calling themselves the Demo Repos or the Democratic Republicans, just called themselves the Democrats. And they got support, or the reason they got really strong was because of this guy right here, Andrew Jackson. Andrew Jackson was the first Democratic president. And his coalition of support were the common people, the non-landowners, the people of the South and the West, the wild folks. And they supported Andrew Jackson, and he was very popular, and he was able to make sure that the Democrats dominated national government from about 1828 to about the 1860s. So they were the party on the scene for 30 years until there was a new party that takes place and a new coalition of support. Okay. The next group is the Republicans versus the Democrats. These are the political parties that we have today. And the Republicans dominated from 1860 until 1932. Okay, so make sure you get those dates down. So from 1860, I'm going to try to draw with this little tool, and I do a really bad job. So 1860 to 1932, this group dominates. Oh, don't joke on that. Okay, now, and the guy who gets all the Republican support or is able to build a coalition around the Republicans is Lincoln. Everybody likes the Republicans because they like Lincoln. Well, not everybody, but a lot of people at that point did. Okay, so make sure you know the first Republican president is Lincoln, and he was elected in 1860, and Republicans were popular from 1860 to 1932. Okay. Now, before the Civil War, the Whigs replaced the Republicans replaced the Whigs. So there's your new coalition. People weren't down with the Whigs anymore. They liked the Republicans more, so they gave their support to the Republicans. Republicans are also a coalition of anti-slavery, so they also don't like slavery. So that's what they believe in. Uh-oh. Don't know why that happened. Hold on. There we go. Into it back. Okay. So again, Republicans, the coalition or the people that support them are anti-slavery, and they believe in a strong national government. Okay. So in 1932, you have yet another coalition. And this coalition is all about this guy right here. This is a caricature of FDR. FDR is Franklin Roosevelt. Okay, Franklin Roosevelt wins the election in 1932. And from 1932 until the end of the 1960s, for the next 30 years, the Democrats dominate politics. And the Democrats and their coalition are winning more and more elections. Now, FDR's coalition of supporters or voters who liked him was so big and so important historically that they have their own name. And they're called the New Deal Democrats. So the New Deal Democrats are a coalition of poor people, minority groups, and liberals. And the thing that they liked about FDR is his New Deal policies that supported, so the poor, minority groups, and liberals who supported government employment and social security programs. The New Deal Democrats liked the government helping them because we're dealing with the Great Depression at this point. And people wanted a president who was going to help him or help them. And FDR had a lot of plans to help people with the New Deal policies. Okay, today, the 1970s to today, we don't really have a clear coalition. There is no Democrats dominating the scene or Republicans dominating the scene. There's nobody who's consistently winning, no political party that wins elections again and again and again. What we have today is this phenomenon called divided government. Okay, divided government is pretty important because it's when one party, like the Democrats, control the White House. So when one party controls the White House and another party controls Congress. And right now, the House of Representatives in Congress is dominated by the Republicans. So we have a situation of divided government currently. Barack Obama, a Democrat, is in the White House, and he has more liberal ideas of how government should be run. And in Congress, in the House of Representatives, you have Republicans, and they have an idea of how the government should be run. And the Senate in Congress is actually run by Democrats. But in order to get a bill made into law, the House of Representatives and the Senate both have to agree, and then the president has to sign it. Now, we have divided government, which means nothing is getting accomplished because the Republicans in the House don't agree with the Democrats in the Senate and don't agree with the president. And that's been the trend for my entire life, where you have one party in one house, one party in the house, the White House, and their views are always clashing. I need you to fix something on this, and I'm sorry. Coalitions are not as common. They're not as common as they used to be. People have become more de-aligned. So, you know how we've been talking about realignment, where you move from one coalition to another? Well, de-alignment means you totally don't belong to any coalition or another. You're completely independent from every political party. The strongest coalition that exists still is the Solid South. And that is the strongest coalition left. And how do Southerners tend to believe and vote? That's right, Republican. Okay, so the Solid South tends to be Republican. Now this Time magazine cover kind of tells you where we're going in the future. It means I decide. Okay, and Latin Americans are a very important coalition, and the Democrats want to attract them, and Republicans want to attract them because they're the largest minority group, and they're swing voters. They could go Democrat or Republican. So both political parties right now are trying to gain support and try to attract Latinos to their side, hoping that they will be able to win elections because you'll have all those Latino voters supporting you. But currently, about 70% of Latin Americans 70% of Latin Americans support Democrats. Latin American or Hispanic voters tend to be more liberal because they like government programs and they support the government giving equal opportunity.